Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It's the father-daughter news talk show podcast combo show where we talk about what we want to talk about in the news. It's Good News Tuesday. I might have some good news, but Raj definitely has some good news because he looked for it. So let's go ahead and go into our news stories. Okay. Today on Before Coffee. Ukraine. Kyiv fires cluster bombs at Russian village. Devastating loss of U.S. aid. EU pledges. Also, breaking news, Armenia has ratified its ICC Rome Statute in a show of defiance against Russia. Your headline.
My headline. Also, on Good News Day, desalination system could produce fewer fresh water that is cheaper than tap water.
And in more European news, or in bank news, fallen crypto king Sam Bankman fried in court for fraud.
Fried for fraud. Hey, and get ready for a solar eclipse in a couple of weeks. And more Good News Day. We talk about that.
And for our cultural news, we're going to learn everything we need to know about the Sphere in Las Vegas at the multi-billion-dollar entertainment venue.
And those stories and more on today, which is National Techie Day. So if you're a nerd or a techie, get out there and have a blast, or do what you normally do. On today, October 3rd, on the comprehensive news of planet Earth, Before Coffee, October 3rd.
All right, let's go ahead and start our first news story. Let me start the audio here. Okay. It's a Tuesday, and that's good news. I don't know if this is good news. Depending on who you are, this is either bad or good news. Ukraine. In the latest developments in Ukraine, this is from Euronews with AFP and AP, the governor of Russia's Bryansk region has alleged Ukraine used cluster bomb munitions on a Russian village near the Ukrainian border, hitting several houses. No casualties were reported in Kilmovo, wrote Governor Alexander Bogomaz on Telegram. Kyiv has not commented on this accusation. Euronews cannot independently verify the Russians' official claims, which were made without photo or video evidence. Washington controversially supplied Kyiv with cluster bombs in July, which was blasted as a terrible mistake by politicians and rights groups. Cluster munitions are banned under an international treaty signed by more than 120 countries. Like a shotgun, they splatter explosive sub-munitions over an area as big as several football fields. These can then lie dormant like landmines, killing and maiming civilians years after a conflict has finished. Russia has been documented using cluster bombs extensively in Ukraine. Wait, why is this? There we go. Loss of U.S. aid would have a devastating effect on Kyiv, experts say. Ukrainian troops could soon run out of ammunition and equipment if hard-right officials in Washington succeed in cutting U.S. funding, experts warn. Since Russia invaded in February 2022, the U.S. has pledged more than $43 billion or 41 billion euros in military aid to Ukraine, more than half the West's total. Top U.S. officials have repeatedly claimed military and humanitarian support for Kyiv will last as long as necessary. However, the Republican opposition, pushed by a group of Trumpian officials, managed on Saturday to force Congress to approve a temporary budget that excluded aid for Kyiv. This compromise, which averted a government shutdown in Washington, illustrates aid is far from guaranteed for Kyiv. If funding was halted, it would be devastating for Ukrainians, warns Mark Kanshian, an advisor to the Center of Strategic and International Studies think tank in Washington. Ukrainian troops would be weakened and could even possibly collapse, although he believes they could continue to be able to remain on the defensive. Stopping aid, which the White House maintains will not happen, would have a delayed effect since many deliveries are in a pipeline. We would surely have to wait several weeks before seeing the effects on the battlefield, says Kanshian. Plus, Moscow may not be able to capitalize on this weakening, being quite exhausted at this stage, he added. Far from front lines, the end of the U.S. aid could also weaken Ukrainian air defenses, which need to be continually resupplied with munitions. They play a key role in protecting Ukraine's civilians and infrastructure from Russian strikes. The European Union's foreign policy chief on Monday led a delegation of top diplomats on an unannounced visit to Kyiv, where he rejected worries about political tension in the bloc hampering its long-term support for Ukraine. Though largely symbolic, the informal meeting between the EU and Ukrainian officials demonstrated the EU's clear commitment to Kyiv, Josep Borrell said on a news conference in Kyiv. The EU remains united in its support to Ukraine. I don't see any member state folding on their engagement. He insisted the bloc is devoted to sustained engagement with Ukraine. Our resolve is firm and will continue. Borrell listed the commitment to the 27 nation club has made and hopes to make, including proposed military aid of 5 billion euros next year, a target to train some 40,000 Ukrainian troops, and a possible joint arms industry venture between EU and Ukrainian defense companies. But their strongest security commitment for Ukraine is to grant a EU membership, he continued. Ukraine wants to join the bloc, something EU officials have encouraged, even though it could take decades, especially amid a war of attrition with no end in sight. The talks between EU and Kyiv took place after the weekend election victory in Slovakia of former Prime Minister Robert Fico, whose pro-Russian agenda has increased the question marks about the EU's continued support for Kyiv. A small Eastern European EU country could bring more tensions to the bloc's discussion on Ukraine, as has happened with Hungary. Budapest has maintained close relations with Moscow and argued against supplying arms to Ukraine or providing it with economic assistance. So there's your big slice of news there about Ukraine, but also in a small little breaking news story, the Armenian parliament has voted to ratify the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, acknowledging the jurisdiction of the court. 60 deputies voted in favor of ratification, 20 against. The decision has been made, Parliament Speaker Alan Simonyan announced on Wednesday. Russian state-owned media TASS reported. Ahead of the vote, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Moscow would view any move to join the International Court as extremely hostile towards Russian. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said that the joining the court was in the interest of his country's security and not directed at Russia. So that's right, if Putin goes to Armenia, he can be arrested under International Court of Law. So more countries he can't go to because he'll be arrested as a criminal. On to your next story.
There goes his vacation plans. And good news day story. We have more environmentally good news. Revolutionary good news, perhaps, from MIT News. This is Jennifer Chu from MIT. It's the Maryland Institute of Technology. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Maryland might have one, but it's not MIT. Probably. Engineers at MIT and in China are aiming to turn seawater into drinking water with a completely passive device that is inspired by the ocean and powered by the sun. In a paper appearing today in the journal Jewel, the team outlines the design for a new solar desalination system that takes in salt water and heats it with natural sunlight. The configuration of the device allows water to circulate similar to much larger thermohaline circulation of the ocean. This circulation, combined with the sun's heat, drives water to evaporate, leaving salt behind. The resulting water vapor can be condensed and collected as pure drinkable water. In the meantime, the leftover salt continues to circulate through and out of the device rather than accumulating and clogging the system. The new system has a high water production rate and a higher salt rejection rate than all other passive solar desalination concepts currently being tested. The researchers estimated that if the system is scaled up to the size of a small suitcase, it could produce 4 to 6 liters of drinking water per hour and last several years before requiring replacement parts. At this scale and performance, the system could produce drinking water at a rate and price that is cheaper than tap water. For the first time, it is possible for water produced by sunlight to be even cheaper than tap water, says Lihan Zhang, a research scientist at MIT's Device Research Laboratory. The team envisions a scaled-up device that passively produces enough drinking water to meet the daily requirements of small families. The system could also supply off-grid coastal communities where seawater is easily accessible. Zhang's study co-authors include MIT graduate Yang Zhang and Evelyn Wang, the Ford Professor of Engineering, along with Jintong Gao, Jinfeng You, Zhanyao Yi, Ruzu Wang, Zhanyao Zhu of Shanghai Jiao Tong University in China. A powerful convection. The team's new system improves on the previous design, a similar concept of multiple layers called stages. Each stage contains a evaporator and a condenser that used the heat from the sun to passively separate salt from the incoming water. That design, which the team tested on the roof of the MIT building, efficiently converted the sun's energy to evaporate water, which was then condensed into drinkable water. But the salt was left over, quickly accumulated as crystals that clogged the system after a few days. In a real-world setting, a user would have to replace stages on a frequent basis, which would significantly increase the system's overall cost. In a follow-up effort, they devised a solution with a similar layer configuration, this time with an added feature that helped to circulate the incoming water as well as any leftover salt. While the design has prevented salt from settling and accumulating on the device, it desalinated water at a relatively low rate. In the latest iteration, the team believes that it has landed on a design that achieves both a high water production rate and a high salt rejection, meaning that the system can quickly and reliably produce drinking water for an extended period. The key to the new design is a combination of the two previous concepts, a multi-stage system of evaporators and condensers that is also configured to boost the circulation of water and salt within each stage. We introduce now an even more powerful convection that is similar that we typically see in the ocean at kilometer-long scales, Zhu says. The small circulations generated in the team's new system is similar to a thermohaline convection in the ocean, a phenomenon that drives the movement of water around the world based on differences in sea temperature and salinity. When seawater is exposed to air, sunlight drives water to evaporate. Once water leaves the surface, the salt remains. And the higher salt concentration, the denser the liquid, and the heavier water wants to flow downward. By mimicking this kilometer-wide phenomenon in a small box, we can take advantage of this feature to reject salt. The heart of the team's new design is a single storage that resembles a thin box topped with a dark material that efficiently absorbs the heat and the sun. Inside, the box is separated into a top and bottom section. Water can flow through the top half, where the ceiling is lined with an evaporator layer that uses the sun's heat to warm up and evaporate any water in direct contact. The water vapor is then funneled to the bottom half of the box, where a condensing layer air cools the vapor into salt-free drinkable liquid. Researchers set the entire box at a tilt with a larger empty vessel, then attached a tube from the top of the half of the box to the bottom of the vessel and floated the vessel in salt water. In this configuration, water can naturally push up through the tube into the box, where the tilt of the box combined with the thermal energy from the sun produces the water to swirl as it flows through. The small eddies help to bring the water in contact with the upper evaporating layer while keeping salt circulating rather than settling and clogging. The team built several prototypes with 1, 3, and 10 stages and tested their performance in water of varying salinity, and including natural seawater and water that was 7 times saltier. From these tests, the researchers calculated that each stage were scaled up to a square meter. It would produce up to 5 liters of drinking water per hour, and that the system could desalinate water without accumulating salt for several years. Given this extended lifetime and the fact that the system is entirely passive, requiring the team estimated that the overall cost of running the system would be cheaper than what it costs to produce tap water in the United States. We show that the device is capable of achieving a long lifetime. That means that for the first time, it's possible for drinking water produced by sunlight to be cheaper than tap water. This opens up possibilities for solar desalinations to address real-world problems. This is a very innovative approach that effectively mitigates key key challenges in the field of desalination, says Guai Yo, who developed sustainable water and energy storage systems. University of Texas in Austin was not involved in our research. Particularly beneficial for regions struggling with high salinity water. Its modular design makes it highly suitable for household water production, allowing for social scalability and adaptability to meet individual needs. So there you go. This could probably be built at home. If you had the technology available to you, the materials available, it doesn't seem like it's very expensive to even produce. So let's get to it. Let's desalinate our water. Your story.
Yeah, it's one way to keep the water going, so to say. Okay.
Oh, it's one way to completely resupply the entire world with fresh water for a low cost. I wonder how
unlikely.
big
I
industry's
assume
gonna
the person
screw it
who's
up.
doing it's going to keep all of it and then argue that they have to keep all of it because they put all the work into it, because that's just how humans work. Why would we give our water away? Why are people immigrating here? Maybe because you have all the water, all the clean land. Concept.
Some billionaire will screw it up.
Yep. Speaking of
Yeah,
failing
hold the idea and try to
billionaires.
sue everybody for using it.
Speaking of failing billionaires, we have Sam Bankman-Fried in court for fraud. This is Roland Mueller on NOS. Just in time, 22-year-old crypto investor Matthias Nienberg secured his money in November. A few days later, the fraud of the FTX platform rocked the crypto world. It makes it look like there's a big mess in crypto land, Nienberg said. 40-year-old Leon Bossman did not see the shower coming so quickly. In a matter of seconds, she saw more than $10,000 go up in smoke. I've learned my lesson, she lamented, but it is an expensive lesson. The criminal trial against Sam Bankman-Fried, the main suspect in the crypto drama, starts today in New York. The 31-year-old American is suspected of mega fraud, not just normal fraud, mega fraud. In November 2022, the price of the listed FTX went into free fall after negative publicity. The value of many cryptocurrencies collapsed. I have never seen such a complete failure of corporate control in my career, FTX exec John Ray said shortly after the company filed for moratorium. There is also no reliable financial information available. Former employees described FTX as a billion-dollar fund run by children. Meanwhile, the person responsible also felt like a victim. I am shocked by what has happened over the past month, as many others, Bankman-Fried lamented at the time from his home in the Bahamas. I still have one working credit card. FTX, which had a flawless image both inside and outside the crypto world, collapsed like a house of cards. The seeds of it lay in 2019, when the crypto world was growing rapidly. The persistently low savings rate led to a lot of skepticism about the monetary policy of central banks. At the same time, the same banks regularly activate the money printing press. The large amounts of money in circulation found its way into crypto, among other things. Many new crypto coins were created and trading was extensive. During that turbulent time, the rise of Sam Bankman-Fried was noticeable. In 2017, he founded crypto trading house Alameda. The son of two professors presented himself as a benefactor. He said he wanted to turn money into more money, so that his prosperity can be distributed more fairly. In 2019, Bankman-Fried floated FTX, a cryptocurrency marketplace. The company's ethical image created open enthusiasm among athletes, artists, and politicians such as Katy Perry, Bill Clinton, and Tom Brady. The largest investment company in the world, BlackRock, was also interested. At the beginning of 2022, the company was already worth 31 billion euros. Everything changed on November 2nd, 2022. CoinDesk, the leading news site for crypto investors, described how FTX filled holes in the balance sheet of crypto trading house Alameda. Alameda appears to have lent a lot of money to weak crypto companies. To conceal this, FTX's own cryptocurrency, FTT, was placed on the balance sheet at high value. The price of FTX fell enormously when the world's largest crypto trading platform, Binance, withdrew its trust from FTX 4 days later. Customers also withdrew their crypto from FTX. Because FTX had become an important trading platform, the values of many crypto coins worldwide dropped. $230 billion in crypto value evaporated. A week later, FTX customers were no longer able to access their accounts. Bankman-Fried emphasized that he and his team were doing everything they could to save FTX. When FTX declared bankruptcy, it became clear that the $10 billion that had been transferred, or it became clear that $10 billion had been transferred to Alameda. Of this, 10% cannot be found on the balance sheet. In short, $1 billion is gone. I messed up. I should have done better, Bankman-Fried responded on December 12th. He was arrested in the Bahamas on suspicion of fraud, among other things. Dutch lawyer Marius Hoepkes works with foreign lawyers to provide insight into the corporate structures of large crypto companies. He calls Bankman-Fried a charlatan. You can perfectly follow crypto from wallet to wallet, but if you ultimately end up with a wallet in the Cayman Islands, it is difficult to trace the person behind it. Dutch supervision currently consists of registration with the Nederlandse Bank. For this registration, Dutch crypto companies must mainly demonstrate that they commit to anti-money laundering rules. The requirements will become stricter from 2025 when new European supervision comes into effect. Until the fall of FTX, the promise of crypto was the invested money would stay where it is. This is in contrast to banks that lend out a large part of money invested and invest to make it profitable. From today, Bankman-Fried can explain to the judge how this could go so wrong. So there's your update on cryptocurrency and how, I know somebody who bought a house investing in cryptocurrency before the crash, so good luck to the people, or congratulations on being the lucky few who pulled out right before it crashed, and shame for the people who lost billions in a smoke.
Eat any investment, sell high. Any investment, sell high. You don't know what high is. It's a key.
Yeah.
It's a guess. And plus, the real tragedy of cryptocurrency is not these rich people that get suckered in. It's all the poor people that they talked into. You know, hi, I'm this rich guy on television. Don't you want to be rich too? I am my snake oil. That's where the real travesty is in this. And I guess I don't doubt if any of those people are ever going to be made whole. But because this idiot probably just scammed everybody and doesn't have any money left, and he's paying his lawyers. So, on to Good News Day, which is get ready for a solar eclipse of the moon and sun form a perfect line with Earth in a ring of fire. This is from the Good News Network. Andy Corbley, this stuff is going to happen with or without humans. So, this is just astronomical stuff that we can enjoy. And the 2023 solar eclipse is passing over the United States this year, giving millions of Americans in the Northwest a chance to glimpse the ring of fire. So those poor bastards out here in the East Coast are going to get some half-assed solar eclipse. Oh well. That's the phrase for the kind of eclipse known as an annular eclipse, where the moon passes in front of the sun but leaves a space for the small ring of light to be seen. The annular solar eclipse will occur on October 14th, 2023 from 1503 Universal Time Constant to 2055 Uniternal UTC. The maximum of the eclipse will occur at 1759 UTC. So about 6 o'clock at night in England. Okay. The so-called path of totality, where Earthlings will be able to see the eclipse station straight on, will pass through the South and Central America before moving westward through Texas, Nevada, California, and Oregon. In fact, all of the continental United States will have at least some visibility of the eclipse. Unfortunately for Europeans, this eclipse will be beyond them at all. Sorry. While the sky might dim, the temperature drop. The only way to actually see the difference in light of the sun during an eclipse is by wearing 3D glasses from a movie theater, but many companies also sell cheap plastic eclipse glasses that are necessary to protect your eyes from UV radiation, which can still damage them when looking straight at an eclipsed sun. Back when 35 millimeter film was a thing, you could take the negatives and just bar about 4 of them together from here and just look at the sun through your negatives. Yep. The other stargazing news, October's full moon is going to be a hunter's moon this year. It occurs before autumn equinox on the 24th, is known as a harvest moon, giving light to ancient peoples in order to harvest their crops. Or even modern people can use it, not just ancient people. How about that? If it occurs after an equinox, it is known as a hunter's moon, giving light to the hunter during his pursuit since the crops are all harvested. He goes and hunts immediately for all them beasts. As Valerie from the Space Tourism Guide explains, October calendar is also crammed with opportunities to spot shooting stars. This is because several meteor showers will reach their peak during the month, starting with the Cameliopardalis, which is 47 letters long on October 5th, featuring roughly 5 meteors per hour, and proceeding to the Draconids on October 9th, a shower which can produce anywhere from 2 to 600 per hour. The Southern Taurids on October 10th, the Geminids on October 18th with about 3 per hour, the Orinids on October 21st, about 21 per hour, ending with the Leonis Minorids on October 24th. Bunch of new words for meteor showers I've never tried to pronounce before. And there is your astronomical stories for today.
We get ready for that eclipse.
Your story.
Yeah, and don't stare at the sun.
2 weeks. Well, you won't see it, but US will get ready for it.
Well, lucky you. Okay, in our culture news, speaking of giant globes or spheres, this one's not in the sky, but this one is sitting in the middle of Las Vegas. So let's learn about it. It's been up for a couple months now. I've been seeing it on social media all over the place of the different videos that they plan on this giant sphere in Las Vegas. This is from Euronews by Theo Ferrand and AP News. The sphere is finally here, and it's already generated quite a buzz. It started as a simple sketch, a circle with a stick person inside. 7 years later, that drawing has been made real. A $2.3 billion or 2.19 billion euro massive spherical venue standing at 366 feet or 111 meters high and lighting up the Las Vegas skyline. The drawing was initially made by James Dolan, the executive chair of Madison Square Garden and owner of New York Knicks and Rangers. But together with David Dibble, CEO of MSG Ventures, they embarked on a mission to revolutionize the entertainment venue industry in Las Vegas. Now, Dolan and Dibble have received like the worst combo group, have recently unveiled their $1 billion investment to the world, which has so far been viewed as a monumental success. And a monumental symbol of just complete ridiculous waste of money for a lot of people. They were like, what the hell is this? Okay, it really is a new medium, said Dolan, speaking to the media during a walkthrough. When you're in the sphere, you don't get told what to look at. The audience decides what they want to focus on. Inside the 516-foot wide or 157-meter wide sphere, a high-resolution LED screen, the largest on Earth, wraps halfway around the 17,600 seat audience. Out of these seats, 10,000 provide an immersive experience with a specialized sound system capable of making guests feel sound vibrations. And there's some pictures inside the sphere, like looking at some nature and some mountains. I don't know, you could just go outside and see that, but Las Vegas, I don't know. The sphere is proudly boasts having the world's largest concert-grade audio system comprising of 1,586 loudspeaker modules and 167,000 speaker drivers, amplifiers, and processing channels, as well as 300 mobile loudspeaker modules. Together, these components deliver a crystal clear and multi-layered audio experience. Not only the interior of the building is impressive, but the exterior also boasts 1.2 million hockey puck-sized LEDs that can be programmed to create dynamic and colossal image displays. It drew immediate attention on the 4th of July, with a digital fireworks display as an eyeball that appears to scan the horizon of the world's Hello World. Tourists and air travelers have also seen the orb light up with the likeness of the Earth or the Moon, bouncing basketballs, and art designs. On 29th of September, the much-anticipated moment arrived as the sphere unveiled its grandeur to the world for the first time, setting the stage for U2's 25 show Residency. Okay, so U2 is going to be playing inside the sphere. This legendary rock band took center stage with the colossal state-of-the-art spherical structure and delivered a 2-hour performance that left the audience in awe. Throughout the evening, attendees were treated to a mesmerizing array of stunning visuals, including kaleidoscope imagery, a burning flag, and the iconic skyline of Las Vegas, all of which was transported the more than 18,000 spectators on an epic musical journey. It was the start of a studded affair with numerous prominent entertainers and athletes in the attendance, including Oprah, LeBron James, Matt Damon, Andrea Agassi, Ava DuVernay, Josh Duhamel, Jason Bateman, John Hamm, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, and Orlando Bloom. Tickets for the residency ranged from $400 upwards to $1,495. That's very expensive to see U2. I guess they have a lot of songs. They have a lot of good songs. Looking ahead, the Sphere will continue to captivate audience as it prepares to present The Postcard from Earth, a production directed by the acclaimed filmmaker Darren Aronofsky. Speaking about the upcoming spectacle, Aronofsky expressed his anticipation, saying, "People are going to get their minds won. I've seen the screen, I've seen it turn on. I've heard the quality and it sounds awesome." Dolan anticipates widespread acceptance of the Sphere concept and envisions its global expansion. Oh yeah, let's fill our whole entire world with a bunch of giant spheres. Following the introduction of the plans for the London Sphere shortly after 2018 Las Vegas project unveiling, the British venue was initially slated to open just a year after its American counterpart. However, while the Vegas Sphere is now fully operational, construction has yet to commence in the UK due to the protracted series of planning negotiations. The selected location, a former Olympics coach park in Stratford, East London, has encountered significant local opposition. Yeah, because it's a giant shining globe at night. There's gonna be no, unless they turn it off, right? You open your window, there's a giant eye looking at me! I'd love to sleep.
Like the Kenny Rogers Roaster sign.
Yeah.
The old Seinfeld episode of the Kenny Rogers Roaster sign outside of Kramer's window, and he couldn't sleep at night. Turn that sign off. I can't sleep.
It's too bright. A Stop the MSG Sphere campaign insists that it is unsuitable for the area, which already hosts multiple entertainment venues, including ABBA Voyage and the former Olympic Stadium, now home to West Ham. Furthermore, campaigners are said the venue's external screens would worsen light pollution for local residents. So there you go. From Theo Ferrant, our news about how there's an incredibly new immersive entertainment experience in Las Vegas, but is it worth it to basically waste all that electricity 24/7? Yeah, I'm sure it turns off at some point, like at 3 a.m., hopefully. But we'll see what happens with the UK development.
Just to save money, they turn it off.
Yeah, sure, right?
Okay.
On to this day in history.
So let's fast forward to this day in history, October 3rd. What happened on October 3rd in history? Well, in 1862, the Battle of Corinth in the American Civil War, conflict that ended a decisive Union victory over Confederate forces in northeastern Mississippi began. In 1866, through the mediation of Napoleon III, Italy obtained Venetia and the Treaty of Vienna. And 1889, German journalist and pacifist Karl von Ossetsky, who was awarded the 1935 Nobel Prize while incarcerated in a concentration camp, was born in Hamburg, Germany. In 1918, Prince Maximilian of Baden, internationally known for his moderation and honorability, was appointed Chancellor of Germany. 1935, Italian forces led by Emilio de Bono under orders from Benito Mussolini invaded Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, in hopes of building a new Roman Empire. In 1936, American collegiate gridiron football coach John Heisman, who was considered one of the greatest innovators of the game, died, and the Heisman Trophy is named after him. 1941, The Maltese Falcon, John Huston's adaptation of Dashiell Hammett's famed 1930 novel, had its world premiere. It is considered one of the greatest detective movies ever made. 1945, the May-Johnson Bill, keeping atomic research secret and established security regulations, was introduced to the U.S. Congress, although it never became law. The debate over the proposed legislation resulted in the passage of the Atomic Energy Act in 1946. 1952, the first British atomic weapon test, called Hurricane, was successfully conducted aboard the frigate HMS Plym. In 1960, the Andy Griffith Show debuted in American television and was an immediate success. 1961, 1 year later, The Dick Van Dyke Show, a pioneer of the sitcom genre, began airing on CBS. Two of our longest living actors, Andy Griffith and Dick Van Dyke. 1969, American singer and songwriter Gwen Stefani, who came to fame in the 1990s as lead singer for the rock ska band No Doubt, was born. In 1995, one of the most sensational trials in U.S. history ended as a jury found O.J. Simpson not guilty of murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and friend Ronald Goldman. Their heads merely fell off. 2004, sorry, that was my editorial. 2004, American actress Janet Leigh, who is best remembered for her performance of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, in which her character suffered one of cinema's most memorable and shocking deaths. And she's also Jamie Lee Curtis' mom, died at the age of 77. This day in 2004, featured event. 1990, Germany was reunified on this day in 1990 after 4 decades of Cold War division and pressure from the German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev agreed to a unified Germany within NATO, leading to Germany's reunification on this day in 1990. And featured biography is Saint Francis of Assisi, Italian saint, was born in 1181 or 1182 and died on this day, October 3rd, in 1226. Other featured birthdays: Al Sharpton, American minister, politician, civil rights activist, born in 1954. 1938, Eddie Cochran, American singer and musician. He was born in 1938. In 1936, Steve Reich, American pollster, was born. And in 1925, Gore Vidal was born. National Day calendar, we already mentioned it's National Techie Day. It's National Techies Day. It is also National Boyfriend Day. Oh boy. And it's National Fruit at Work Day. So if your boyfriend's a fruit at work, it's double for him. Sorry, just kidding.
He's double so
fruit at work. It's Fruit at Work Day. Interesting. So you probably should always bring fruit to work. I don't know. It's worst habit for memory loss. Okay, that's something silly. That's an ad. Never mind. That's an ad. Okay, and it's World Temperance Day. So stop drinking and eat some fruit. That's it. That's all of them.
That's it. Well, this has been another Good News Tuesday. We had some good news about, I guess, the expansion of the entertainment industry and the moon, an eclipse, and water. Desalinating water. We'll see you on Wednesday for some more weird and wacky news that's going out in the world that you don't know about. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
And here's Roger for the United States, reminding you that it's Eddie Cochran's birthday, and it's okay to have the summertime blues because it's not summer anymore. So that's today. For the comprehensive news of planet Earth on October 3rd, 2023 edition of Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.